What's going on YouTube? So if you've been tuned into our channel recently, you saw that Kia just released an all-new, from-the-ground-up redesigned Sportage, including offering a hybrid model for the first time. However, just a few months ago, Hyundai also fully redesigned their Tucson. And now these two Korean siblings are hoping to take a big chunk out of the lucrative compact crossover segment. But just like the comparison between Palisade and Telluride, the question remains, is one of these a better buy than the other? That's what we're about to find out. So to get things established here, let's quickly talk about the pricing and option levels. Both Korean automakers are known for baking in a lot of value, and I'm happy to report that this continues for these next generation products. Starting with the Tucson, we have the fully loaded limited hybrid model, which only has optional floor mats and a mandatory $12.45 destination charge. All in, the total price is $39,490. Now for the Sportage, we also have the fully loaded hybrid model called SX Prestige. After a couple options and the destination charge, the price is about $1,300 less than the Tucson at $38,155. We will revisit that price difference later in the value section, but for now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this comparison. So when it comes to the relationship between Hyundai and Kia, their products tend to only share the things you can't see, and that is definitely the case with this new Tucson and Sportage. They look nothing alike, but they both have chosen extremely bold designs in their own ways. The Tucson's face is almost entirely grille, until you realize that both sides of it are actually a cascading row of daytime running lights when the vehicle is on. The Sportage also has a huge grille dominating the front, and very distinct boomerang-shaped LED daytime running lights framing it in. As far as the headlights themselves, both are using projector LEDs, but only the Kia offers LED fog lamps. Continuing our way around to the sides, both have sculpted designs and interesting wheels. The Kias are 18 inches, and the Hyundais are larger 19 inches. And out back, the wild design themes continue, especially in the case of the Hyundai, which has fang-shaped taillights. Both of them have clean rear aesthetics, thanks to wipers hidden under their spoilers, and smooth rear fascias that hide the exhaust tips. Interestingly, the Hyundai is the only one that actually has a hybrid badge, as the Kia eschews it in favor of HEV branding. Let us know in the comments below which one you prefer design-wise, but we're not going to award any points here because that is highly subjective. But now checking out some of the individual odd and end features, both of their mirrors have heating and blind spot monitoring, and all the other active safety features are also included. Their respective safety suites protect you with full speed adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, rear auto braking, highway drive assist, and auto high beam headlights. And the last thing on the outside is warranty information. As you probably know, both brands have the industry leading 5-year 60,000 mile basic and 10-year 100,000 mile powertrain warranties. But it is worth noting that only the Hyundai includes 3 years of complimentary maintenance on top of that. Alrighty, that's it for the outside, but now let's see which cabin is the best fit for your family. So walking up to the doors, both will come with smart entry systems, remote start on the fob, as well as remote smart parking systems for these fully loaded examples. However, only the Tucson has sensors behind the door handle. Now opening up the doors, you'll find two interiors that are just about as different as the exteriors, maybe even more so. Before we get into the specifics, I do want to mention the color choices. While the Tucson only offers black and gray options, the Sportage Hybrid has some very expressive color choices, including a navy blue and the carmine red that you see on this example. Now as far as the seats themselves, both have 10 ways of power adjustment, heating, ventilation, and 2-person memory. The Tucson does come with real leather though. Once fully inside the cabins, we can check out the broad category of material quality. Both have similar materials with a mixture of soft and hard touch plastic, piano black trim, and cloth on the Hyundai, faux aluminum on the Kia. After startup, you'll see full digital gauge arrangements. The graphics are similar between them, and both have blind spot camera monitoring systems. But, as you can probably tell, the Sportage's is larger at 12.3 inches versus 10.25 inches. Coming back to the steering wheels, both are leather wrapped with heating, and they have rain sensing wipers. But moving on to one of our more important interior elements, let's discuss storage. Under the center consoles and in the front storage bins, they are roughly equivalent to each other. However, the Kia's dual-purpose bin is impressive. It can be used as traditional cup holders, or they can be folded away to store large objects or hold larger bottles. Both of them have wireless phone charging pads. Heading next to the shifters, they have two different varieties of electronic ones. Both are pretty easy to get used to, and when in reverse, both have 360-degree backup cameras. That being said, Sportage has an extra trick up its sleeve, since it has a 3D view, which is something usually reserved for luxury vehicles. Now moving up to the dashboards, neither of these two choose a traditional dual-zone climate control setup. The Tucson went for entirely touch capacitive buttons, and the Sportage did as well, except for two knobs that are both temperature controls and audio controls when you change the mode. In practice, both work pretty well after you take a second to familiarize yourself. As far as the audio systems, we have 8-speaker branded sound systems on deck for both crossovers. One area that is 90% the same are the infotainment systems. The software, navigation, maps, and processing is all the same, besides for graphics. They both also have wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but the main difference is that once again, the Sportage has a 12.3-inch display instead of a 10.25-inch one. Moving up from there, the Tucson has an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes, and both of them have large panoramic sunroofs. Now as we head into the rear areas, you'll see impressive improvements over both of their last-gen versions, since they went from being some of the smallest offerings in the segment to some of the largest. The over 6 inches of extra length translates to an enormous 41.3 inches of rear legroom and over 39 inches of headroom. In addition to large accommodations, we have some nice amenities on board as well. Both have vents and 2 USB ports, though only the Hyundai includes heated rear seats. Moving out back, both have power tailgates with hands-free smart opening. And once inside, just like with the back seats, you'll see some of the largest cargo capacities in the class. While there are obviously some small differences in the measurements between them, they are essentially equal to each other. Alright, this comparison is not over yet, so now let's take them out on the road and see how they stack up there. So far through this video, there have been far more differences than similarities, but in these areas you can't see, they share a lot more. Included in that is the entire hybrid powertrain, both using 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinders paired to an electric motor and lithium-ion battery pack. Together, they produce total system output of 226 and 227 horsepower, which is approximately 40 more horsepower than each of their respective regular gas-powered models. Alright, and there we are, above 60 miles per hour with this Tucson hybrid.
Really nice.
So as you can see, acceleration is actually pretty swift in this, and that's because it does have a pretty substantial advantage in power over the standard Tucson. So with this model, you do have a completely different powertrain. So it's got a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, plus your battery and electric motor components, and that's all together making 226 horsepower, which is up from 187 with the standard gas model.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of a difference there, and the thing I noticed the most is that it takes off on that EV power, which really gets you up to speed, feeling a lot faster than the regular one.
Alright, so there's full throttle in this 2023 Kia Sportage Hybrid. So we're behind the wheel of the hybrid model, and that of course is going to give you quite a few advantages. So what you have on board is a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that's going to be paired with an electric motor and your lithium-ion battery pack. So the total power on board is going to be 227 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. One of the other interesting things about this shared powertrain is that the hybrid system is paired to a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. Almost all other hybrid vehicles on the market use CVTs instead. So this gives you a quote-unquote more normal feel that most people appreciate. Now if you're paying attention, you're probably noticing one aspect that's very interesting for a hybrid model, and that's the fact that you're hearing gear shifts, and that's because this actually does have a transmission, a full automatic transmission. So this is a 6-speed automatic, and of course that's unusual because most hybrids, as in like 99% of them, come with a CVT. I think that's actually a pretty cool advantage for this model versus all the competition, because you do have that more traditional feel from behind the wheel. When you, especially when you go hard on the accelerator, you do actually get those real shifts, and that to me is a pretty distinct advantage over a CVT, which can kind of generate a drony type of sound. The other thing I really like about this powertrain, and what you just witnessed, was that we actually have a real transmission. We have a 6-speed automatic transmission. Most of this car's rivals come with an eCVT, and you know, that of course is just gives you that more traditional feel that I know a lot of you guys like. We always see in the comments people being like, oh, CVT, 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 but you do actually have a traditional automatic with a hybrid. Pretty rare feature, and just nicely. Now as far as other driving characteristics, both have nice ride qualities and pretty well controlled dynamics. Of course, neither of them is going to feel sporty, but they can hold their own when tossed around some corners, and sport mode livens up the powertrain quite nicely. Now of course, as you can tell, we are out on a canyon road. Obviously that's not this vehicle's natural habitat by any stretch of the imagination.
She's doing fine.
But yeah, it really is holding its own, definitely right in line with what I'd expect for a vehicle in this class. I mean, body roll, pretty controlled. Steering, very light, doesn't have a lot of feel, but pretty fast, pretty accurate. I don't have any real complaints about it. Of course, one of the signature things we like to do in this channel is compare the sound levels of the vehicles. But unfortunately, we won't be able to do that today since we were sampling out the Sportage Hybrid in California without our sound equipment. That being said, both of them seemed very quiet, especially when driving in EV mode without the engine running, which is something that happens even at high speeds.
And we will get a sound level reading so we can talk about just how quiet it is in here. Going 55.
So we're just about at 55 now.
$54.7, and very, very impressive. We actually we test a lot of luxury cars, and that's coming in lower than a lot of them. And I think the reason for that is because it was actually off during a lot of that sound sample of the engine. So you can be going 60 miles an hour and be running completely on electric power, which is really a crazy awesome thing.
Lastly, for fuel economy, these all-wheel drive versions have almost the same ratings, except for a small discrepancy for the larger wheels on the Tucson. It is worth noting that the Tucson hybrid is all-wheel drive only, while the Sportage hybrid can be had in a front-wheel drive LX trim, and that model can achieve up to 43 mpg combined. Alrighty, now that brings us back to the value and the price difference between them. The Sportage rings in at $1,335 less than the Tucson, which will earn it an additional half point on our scale. And with that, we conclude this comparison. At the end of the day, we have two very competitive and distinctive Korean crossovers that make a strong case against all the other stiff competition. Compared to each other, I imagine the biggest item that will help you decide is your personal opinion on which styling you prefer. So make sure to head down to the comments section and let us know which one you would choose. Anyway guys, thanks for joining us for this Car Confections comparison. And be sure to subscribe for more comparisons as well as our signature full review videos. Also, follow us on TikTok and Instagram for all our shorter form content. And we will see you next time.